Alright guys, well welcome to my USA Aggro deck. Alright, so this deck's pretty tough. It's got some really good upfront aggro style to it, but with the bigger USA units like the Hellcat, the Shermans, the M4A1s, combined with Bolster, just gives this deck a lot of punch in that mid-game if you need it. If the aggro's not taking off too fast for you, you get a lot of good punch from that. So ideally what you're looking for, I mean, we'll just walk through a bit of some of the plays you're going to look to make, depending on who your opponent is. So this deck is going to really struggle against artillery and British air, for example. So if you hit the Soviet artillery deck, this deck is really, really hard because they're going to get those anti-tank artillery out and it's going to beat up on you. And they obviously the Brit air is really tough, especially if it's bombers instead of fighters that they get down early. The swordfish will rip us up and stuff like that. So those decks are pretty much hard counters to this deck. But everything else plays pretty darn good, and it does get out there pretty fast. If you know you're against a deck that does have a hard counter against you, you want to get out fast. So having Patton on turn 1 to be able to get all the 32nd infantry out right off the bat on turn 1 is super huge. Fill up your support line with 4 of these guys. Start pushing them up as fast as possible. If you can get a 109th going at the same time, that's great. Turns these into a 3-1 when they push up. So that's sort of your turn 1 idea. It's especially useful against Jaggro because if they're blitzing up with those low health units that have 0 op costs, you know, the 2-1 with the 1 deployment 0 op cost, they would take the front line on turn 1. Start 32nd infantry regiments are fantastic for trading against all that early Jaggro. And then once they run out of that early Jaggro, you start playing down your bigger units, getting the Wirbelwinds down, the Panzer 35s down. The BEFEHLSWAGEN is in here, so if this unit's in your hand, when you take the front line, it's going to automatically deploy to the front line. So if you have it in your hand, make sure you do the order of operations properly, time it out right, so you could try to get that to proc out for you for free, save you some credits, some expenses. If you are going against Brit air, getting the Wirbelwind down is super important because the air will enter the battlefield pinned right away, so you won't have to worry about them right away. So that's definitely Wirbelwind is your friend in those cases. Well, the biggest strong point to this deck is the amount of bounce that it has. So 99th Infantry Regiment, or the 99th Infantry Battalion, when you have the front line, you bounce units, and the half-track, getting rid of air and infantry. Doesn't do much for tanks and artillery, but it gets rid of air and infantry, which is great when you see so much Brit air these days. It's great for bouncing off those buffed airplanes. And, you know, timing's important. Be a little bit patient with your bounce, because if you can get more value out of the bounce, maybe you take a hit from a plane on your HQ or something, but if you can make them spend some of their buff cards first, then you bounce it, you get more value out of it that way. So try to time it that way if you can. It's not always possible, because at the end of the day, you need to sometimes just get rid of stuff so you can live to play another turn. So just something to keep in mind. And the same thing with the Flammpanzer. You'll see a game versus tokens, for example. Sometimes you want to try to save the Flammpanzers for after the buffs are played so that you can get more value out of the kill, if possible. I mean, don't sacrifice the game because of it. So we're playing Bolster the Ranks here too. So Bolster the Ranks, you got the M4A1, we've got the M4 Shermans, the Flammpanzer. Those are your bolster targets. All these units that have 2 operation costs, they become beasts when you bolster them. And that's huge value, very strong. And in terms of card draw, you got We Can Do It in here times 2. And we've got the Shermans, obviously. If you get the idea of this is being a US aggro deck, so get the front line and then you proc your Shermans. If you lose the front line, you're going to have trouble getting it back with this deck. You can do it, but it's more difficult. And obviously you can't proc your Shermans if you don't have the front line. And this 22nd Infantry Regiment, again, you have to have the front line, but getting these guys out, you get a lot of card draw. So this deck actually has a lot of draw in it. I've had games where I was basically trying to get units out so I wouldn't mill my own hand because I had all the Shermans in my hand and I had the infantry on the board. It just loads of card draw. You're usually not going to have a draw problem as long as you can get that front line, of course. So, I mean, if you're missing some cards in here, 101st Airborne is super strong. It's a great elite to have in this deck. If you don't have this elite, you can substitute it with basically, you know, lots of other infantry. It doesn't really matter. Find something with similar stats. At the end of the day, it doesn't really matter what it is. I think maybe using the, let's go find it. I think using First Marines is a good substitution because it has Blitz and this has Blitz. You don't get the ambush. slightly lower stats, but this is also cheaper. You get it out for 3+1 instead of 5+1. So First Marines is a good substitution. You can look to do that. So this deck here, like I said in the subject, like in the description for the video, I went 12-0 going from rank 16 all the way up to rank 10. And it was crazy, crazy run. Then I started to run into some a little bit more artillery and different things. So you can make some adjustments to this deck based on what kind of opponents you're seeing. We have a lot of draw already, and the buffs you get from We Can Do It are, I don't know, sometimes meh, sometimes this card just gets in the way. So you can replace this like with something like Strategic Bombing. If you were around for one of the events last year, everybody has Strategic Bombing. If you're a newer player, you might not have it yet, but this is a fantastic elite as well. You should drop that into the deck instead of a We Can Do It, so that you could kill everything on the support line, and that will wipe out all the artillery and really help out in those matchups if you happen to draw the card when you need it early in the game. Just keep in mind, if you mulligan this guy into your hand and you're playing against Soviet, you might want to just keep that in your hand just in case until turn 6, so you could drop it and clear the support line. Yeah, so I mean, there's a few specials in here. Obviously, the Infantry Regiment's hard to replace. You need the card draw for that. If you don't have this, just substitute some other kind of infantry. You don't want to not have the infantry, because this also helps proc your Panzer 35. So, I mean, obviously we have a lot of infantry in this deck to proc the Panzer 35. There's a lot of options. So, realistically, you could, in fact, change this for a tank with some better stats. There are a few tanks to choose from. Pick whatever you want, whatever you have in your collection. Flammpanzer, again, you just replace it with another tank that has equivalent stats. The deploy effect is really nice, obviously, but if you're missing 1 or 2 Flammpanzers, not a big deal. They are kind of cheap to craft as well. Hellcat is really hard to replace. This guy is amazing. Packs so much punch, deals double against tanks. Again, you're just trying to match the stats. You're not going to get the passive effects or the extra blitzes and different things like that for the same cost, because it's a special. So just replace with whatever you have that has equivalent stats. Throwing in 10th Engineers is not a bad card to throw in. If you had to replace your Infantry Regiment, maybe you could throw in 10th Engineers, because then you get adjacent units having the +2 attack from this, which can make it really strong. This is a great tempo turnaround card. If you lose to the front line and you just need to kill some big units to get the front line back, the 10th Engineers could actually be helpful. And I know you can't see it fully because my camera's behind it, but it's the 1-2 infantry where adjacent ground units have a +2 attack. So it's just right here behind my camera. Let me flip the camera real quick so you can see it. There you go. So there's the card right there, and so you can see that. All right, so there's some substitutions. I mean, the Shermans are pretty damn important for any USA deck like this. That's your main engine for card draw plus the 4/4 tank. So if you don't have Shermans, you need to craft them. That's a must craft for sure. All right, so there's the layout of the deck. The deck code will be pasted down below for you to grab it. You could grab a link to my Discord down below. You could jump into my Discord as well. We talk a lot about the decks in there. If you have questions about some other substitutions, I do reply to comments on the video, so leave comments if you like, but we can have a better conversation in Discord because we can actually dialogue with each other in real time. But the link's down below. Go ahead and grab that link. And so there's the deck. Let's go ahead and look at some games and see some playthrough. All right, here we go. Let's check out these games here. We got USA versus Germany. So we're thinking it's either discard or some kind of German aggro, I guess. But you always got to plan for discard, so we wanted to make sure we can go fast and hard at this guy. But 109th and Panzer 35 is a great start, so we'll keep those two. Probably molly away the M4A1 and the We Can Do It. There we go. Yep, that's a good solid molly. Oh, nice, and we got the 32nd. So I might go 32nd first, put the 32nd first, and the next turn we put down the 109th, start pushing up maybe. Yep. All right, not a bad start. Okay, so he's not, well, British, so it's probably some kind of German-British discard. All right, so we got a 99th Infantry for some balance. That's good. We're going to push up some pressure there. He can't operate that airborne yet because it costs too much. Alright, so what's he got? What's the answer? Oh, geez, commandos. That sucks. Hate commandos. You can bounce it or just keep pushing. He does trade off pretty much straight up with the 109th buff. He'll trade off straight up. So let's just keep going face. That's 6 face. He can't pass up 6 face. Not with aggro. You got to take the damage when you can get it because it won't be long until he's dropping guards down. Flammpanzer takes care of that. So we do have... Oh, he hits the 109th in the back instead. There we go. Yeah, we're going to bounce that airborne now because we don't want him to be able to get any 2-for-1s. Play down one more infantry. Or no, let's get the card draw going. Hit face for 3 more. So we got 11 damage to go. It's going really good so far. So let's see if he has Monty. No, he can't have Monty because he's German main, so he won't have any British elites. So that's good news. Alright, so I think maybe we push up and draw with the Sherman maybe. I think we want to start getting the big boys on the board because if we can find our bolster, that will give us a big push. Plug the front line. We still got card draw with the 2-1 right there. Alright. So we got both M4A1s in our hand, so if he does start playing discard, we're not going to get that perk of the proccing the M4As. So MI5, okay, we got good cards anyways, and we could draw with a Sherman, so we don't care about that very much. So that's all good, that's all good. Alright, we drop the Sherman, draw 2 more. I think we push that up, yeah, and hit face for 2 more. 7 to go. It's playing really good so far. There's Patton. Patton, more of a utility at this stage in the game. I mean, he can help if needed, but I don't see a need for him right now. He's more of a turn 1. Ooh, root out the enemy, eh? Okay. Interesting. That's good play. So what do we got here? Hit face for 4. I think we put the M4A1 down now. No? Maybe? It costs 4 to do it. He's got a full hand of cards. We got a full hand. Patton gives us some blitz. Get rid of that. We could have used Patton with 32nd Infantry. I think we have 1 more in the deck, so we could have got those 2 out. But maybe not worth it because I'm thinking Carpet Bomb as well. He could be having Carpet Bomb, which would just wipe those guys out. So saving Patton for the bigger M4A1s or something is better to get them up to be able to hit face and blitz in. We could always top deck a Hellcat to solve that problem, but as it stands, it looks like we have a pretty good position with having Patton in hand. So he's just trying to make a presence there. We don't really care about... It would cost too much. We didn't have lethal with Patton because it would have cost too much. It would have cost 3, 5, 7. It still would have cost 8 credits to go all the way up with Patton. So let's see here. We have it with Whirlwind. Oh no, we moved up the BEFEHLSWAGEN. The BEFEHLSWAGEN, just move it up because we're not going to get to... now we have set up for lethal. We're not going to get the front line thing again to proc it. So we're going to do it this way. Alright. The Admiral hippers us. Man, that's going to slow us down. I think a little misplay there maybe around the Patton. Maybe I should have used Patton to get out one of the big tanks. So now we're just going to go wide with these guys. So I had 3 in the deck. That would have been a good Patton actually. Because I even could have blitzed them up to the front line. But I do have to worry about a Carpet Bomb at this stage and root out the enemy again. There's the Carpet Bomb, just as I thought. So, not really a misplay. So now he's got the front line. So we're gonna have to hit him with that. Man, we're in a pickle now. Only 5 damage left to go. We can't seem to close the deal here. So what's it going to be? We can trade off that unit. We need to get our bolsters going here. Wolfpack, we lose a Sherman, so that's some card draw going. And he's going to make, and he discards the M4. Alright, well, at least we kept the Sherman if we are able to get the front line, but we're not going to draw a card, so I guess we just got to go with the Sherman and move that up. Alright, we get the infantry. That's nice. We'll lay that down, get another card. And this card draw is saving our butt right here. That was great. Alright. He's got root, kills 2 of them. Now we do have lethal, so we're good. Hellcat gives us lethal. Whoa. Should have played the first. Should have played 101st Airborne first, because if he was playing a careless talk there, it would have cost us lethal. We would have still got the deployment effect on the airborne, hit the 2 damage, and then went out with the Hellcat. So check for the countermeasures. All right, here we go. Next game. All right, we got a 32nd Infantry Regiment here. We'll get rid of everything else. Hope to find Patton. We don't find Patton. So we're assuming that this could be Jaggro. If it's not Jaggro, it's going to be one of those new air decks that are playing supply chain. That seems to be what's going around. So having 32nd Infantry down is really good against Jaggro. So this is that air supply chain air deck. So that means we need to really move fast and try to get face. Flammpanzers are not going to be very useful because they are going to not have ground units, most likely. Not 1-drops anyway. They get a lot of those planes that can't be attacked from the ground. So we're going to save our half-tracks to bounce these aircraft. And we're just going to flood the board as much as we can here. We'll take some damage to the face there, or deliver some damage, I mean. So that's good. So next turn we could drop a Sherman potentially and get more draw going. I really want to find a bolster for this guy. 101st Airborne is useful because the bomber, so he plays the Sound, I think it's called, the Sound or whatever, and it has 3 health, whereas the bomber equivalent has only 2 health. Alright, so just going to move up, hit face, make him trade, and he'll spend 2 credits to trade, but he could buff it. You have lots of opportunities to buff it, so we'll have to see what he does here. We do have the half-track if he buffs it, but oh, bolster, so that makes it a 5 attack, and he just goes face, so he's not even going to trade. Yeah, we're definitely going to bounce that. So he's already killed 25% of our face is dead. Okay, so we got 4 in the front line now. Wow, okay, so, oh, and his hand's full because we bounced it back into his hand, so that's good. He burned a card. Alright, so there's the bomber, so we could deal with that with the 101st Airborne. Oh, we could also bounce it with that 2nd Infantry could... not enough credits to do both, so we're just gonna hit face for 2 here, I think, or move up. I guess move up. He can't cover the ambush with that one, so we'll see what he does. So this deck, going against this deck, the bounce is super important. If you don't have this bounce in your hand early, you're really gonna struggle. So he gets the Sendai off on our airborne. That hurts a little bit. So we don't have any real hard removal. And he just goes face again. Wow. The greed. So I guess we just bounce the airplane. And he's not killing our units, which means we're not getting any room on the front line to do a whole lot. So we only got him down to 4 health. I don't know how he comes out of this now. I suppose he could have a Tor or something that could do mass killing, but we still have lethal on board. He gets the Betty out. All right. I think we're in good shape here. Unless he could, I don't know, he could burst of fire would give that blitz. +2/+2 and blitz. Now he's dead. All right, good game. That's a tough matchup for this deck. Realistically, we had a really good draw there with having the half-tracks, but keep in mind that's a really tough opponent for this deck. All right, so now we got Soviet since our friend Dimbud here. And we got a really lousy mulligan here with only having 3 and 4 drops. This is a horrible starting hand. This is either tokens or artillery. That's all we've been seeing from Soviet these days. Soviet Patriotic Firestorm, where reserves are played, so we can assume it's a tokens deck. So we have a really slow start against a tokens deck. At least we have Flammpanzer. So when he plays down his first reserves, we will at least be able to answer one of them right away. I kind of like to say Flammpanzer for when he buffs his tokens, but I think we need to get on board here. We have no choice. Get rid of that one. And now the idea with tokens, and this deck should do pretty good against tokens. We just want to keep trading. We got some heavy units in his deck, so he goes with the hammer, pushes up his token. Man, what a horrible hand! Look at this, all 4 drops. Oh, this is going to be tough. All right. Tokens are very, very challenging. If you lose tempo, it's very hard to get it back. And we're just kind of lucky that he hasn't had a lot of tempo either. Okay, so there's the frontal assault. He hits face. That's what you do with tokens, is you never trade. You always hit face. All right, so we got some bounce. So we can take care of both these guys. Send one back. Again, the bounce coming in huge. It's fantastic. So we didn't get any of the Patton combo, and I don't have it in the video now because this is the last game for the video. But on turn 1, if you get the Patton and the infantry going, you get all 4 of them on board on turn 1. That's huge, especially against Jaggro. I did get that off a couple of times, but I wasn't recording, so I didn't get the games. Cossacks. That's got to be support line. Gets me every time. I want to hit the front line with it. So we'll trade off like that, I guess. I'm keeping the M4 because the M4 is a good bolster target, whereas the airborne only has a 1 operation cost, so he's not a great bolster. But we're having trouble getting into the front line here to start hitting face. I'm a bit concerned that we're on turn 6 and we haven't even hit face once yet. We have 4 Shermans in our hand, so, and the 32nd Infantry, so we got lots to draw. We'll be pulling lots of cards. All right, 5 credits on draw for him, so that gives us a bit of a pause here to actually get up in the front line, but still no bolsters in our hand. I'm gonna move up, draw 2 cards. All right, we get a Flammpanzer and a 99th. That's great because now we could bounce and kill. So if he buffs anything big like with a unity or anything like that right now, we can send it back to his hand as long as we get the front line back, or we could just Flammpanzer it. So he should have attacked first because he would have killed the first token by attacking first, and then he would have got 4 tokens back. So he wasted a token there. Might not be a big deal in the end, but he definitely could have got a little bit better value. Now we're going to bolster for sure. We got to bolster the M4A1. We got 8 credits, so we could play the Sherman to get draw, and then we could bolster. Oh, more bounce. Look at all the bounce in our hand. Yeah. It's a bit dangerous when there's 4 tokens on there. If he frontal assaults all of those, it becomes a lot harder to deal with. So we definitely going to stick to the game plan and not get caught up on the bolster. And we're going to kill tokens as much as we can. Man, another frontal in his hand. And he's getting a lot of buffs on his tokens. Oh, and the guard comes out, gives them all another +1. Wow, making this really challenging. Alright, well, we have Flammpanzer and we have half-track. Ooh, is he playing counter-offensive as well? Bounce that token out of there. Bolster that guy. We want to try to save the Flammpanzer for the big buffs because he definitely is going to be able to play out a Unity of Strength eventually, which could make a very strong unit, and the Flammpanzer makes light work of a token that is buffed. Alright, so he's playing out more tokens. Man, this is a chess match. We're going back and forth. There's the counter offensive. Good value on that. 3 units damaged. Alright, so now we got to deal with an 8-4. Industrial Might, he only gets 1 card at least. Alright, so we're going to trade into that first, so that when we move up, now we get the BEFEHLSWAGEN procced, and now we can kill it. If I would have moved up first, I wouldn't have got the BEFEHLSWAGEN proc, so keep that in mind. The order of operations is important. Kill that last token, or hit face. We hit face, we let him have 1 last token left. Okay, we're all done with 32nd Infantry's last one in our hand. 2 Shermans, as long as we can keep pushing the front line, we will be able to keep drawing cards, which is going to be good for us. Man, he puts down another guard, but he didn't have any more tokens down first, so that's a good thing. Alright, makes that a 3-3, trades off. Oh, man, the 22nd infantry, so we're getting lots of draw. I'm going to kill that token because he doesn't seem to have any more tokens in his hand, or else he would have played more. And we're going to drop that, get down to getting more card draw. So we have a really good board here. I think we're able to win this through attrition. We just got to break down these guards, and then now he gets a reserves. Luckily, he didn't have that before when he played the guards. Oh, the alliance, the buffs, non-stop buffs. Ah, the tokens are such a pain in the ass. All right, what do we do here? Another Flammpanzer at least. We don't need Jaggro yet, but if he ends up taking over the front line, we'll have Jaggro. All right, we got another bounce and another bolster. There's Patton. So now we can blitz out the front line. All right. All right, we got to win this now. Come on, we got to have enough on board to take care of this. What's he going to do? There's a bloody sickles to take care of the 1 health. Probably would want to get rid of the... ooh, another counteroffensive. A 10-11 I got to deal with now. Holy moly. And a unity. Wow, a 10-7, a 7-5. Look at the muscle he's got on the board. Yeah. Yep. So we have 99th Infantry in our hand. So I think we bounce the 10-7 and we kill the 7-5. So we have to trade. So get the front line first. Nope, get the front line first. Here we go. Perfect. Bounce that back. Use a Panzer 35. Trade off 1 token. And get more to the front. So we got that infantry down there surviving, giving us lots of card draw. Control. Alright, we top deck 109th. That'll be useful. So we got those 2 units on the support line already, plus the Hellcat. The Hellcat could blitz up off the 109th, gives good value. Oh, more tokens coming. Well, we're holding up really good so far. He hasn't played any Unity of Strength yet. So there's the guard we bounced, so he's going to buff all his tokens again with that. There's the Unity of Strength. Yeah, he played 1 Unity already, so that's the second one. So he's got 1 Unity left. Alright, so now we could bounce that big token, that 8-4 token. We got to bounce that out of there. And then we deal with the guard. Hit face. Not too worried about him hitting us in the face yet, so hang on to the 593rd. So there's another infantry regiment, 22nd Infantry Regiment, so we can move the other one up now and put that one in the back. Draw lots of cards. More tokens are coming. We got that Hellcat in our pocket. We got Patton also as well with the M4A1. The Patton could be really nice. Jeez, he just keeps coming. Alright, so that'll be a 3. We're at the point where I probably just need to go face, right? Doing the math here. I think we just got to hit face with these things right now. We want to push everything up here. I think we want to get 5 units on the front line because he's only got 4 units and we know that they don't have any blitz realistically. So it's like he hasn't been playing the 1-2 blitz yet. So with 5 units on the front line, he can only trade off 4 of them. Even if he kills 4, he leaves 1 alive and we have enough to win. Well, pretty close. I guess if he leaves the 1-2 as the last one, then we got to find 1 more damage. Hopefully top deck a tank or something so we could just, a blitz tank, we could just finish this off. Crazy game. Tokens are very challenging. You got to be patient, meticulous. Here we go. So he misplayed that. Realistically, he should have killed everything except the 1-2. With the 1-2, he would have had one more turn, not knowing I was going to top deck a Panzer 35. So one little misplay at the end by him, I think, but it didn't change the outcome of the game anyway. So there you go. There's the deck. Plays very aggressive, but it's got a lot of meat in the middle, so it could actually hold up really nice as well.